You apologize for breathing too loud, for taking up space at the table, for needing a ride, for asking a question, for existing in a room that would be quieter without you. You say sorry before you speak. Sorry when someone bumps into you. Sorry for having needs, for feeling things, for being visible. And everyone says you're just polite. But you're not polite. You're terrified. Terrified that your presence is a burden, that your existence is an inconvenience, that every moment someone spends with you is a moment stolen from their peace. You learn something most people never had to learn, that love has a limit, that patience wears thin, that even the people who care about you have a threshold, and you're always one request away from crossing it. So you became the person who needs nothing, who asks for nothing, who apologizes for everything. Not because you're humble, because you learned that needing is dangerous, that depending is debt, that your presence costs something. And you've spent your whole life trying not to be expensive. This is the psychology of feeling like an imposition. And if you're exhausted for making yourself small, this will explain why. Some people learn that their existence is an intrusion, not through words, through sighs. A parent who helped but resented it. A caregiver who was there but wished they weren't. A family that loved you but made sure you knew it was hard. Every time you needed something, you got it, but you also got the sigh, the heavy exhale, the eye roll, the again, the subtle reminder that asking cost something, that needing was taking, that your presence required energy they barely had. So you learned to read the room, not for safety, for permission to exist. You became fluent in micro-expressions, in tones, in the space between words. You learned to measure their capacity before making a request, to wait for the right moment that never came, to swallow your needs if they seemed tired or busy or just done. And slowly, you stopped asking. Not because you stopped needing, because you learned that your needs were inconvenient, that help came with debt, that love had terms and conditions. You weren't taught this explicitly. You absorbed it in the pause before they said yes, in the way they helped you but complained to others about it, in how they gave but never freely. So you became the child who needed nothing, the adult who asks for nothing, the person who's grateful for scraps and calls it abundance, because you learned the first rule of feeling like an imposition. If you need less, you're worth more. If you disappear quietly, you're easier to love.
You wait for people to offer before asking. And if they don't offer, you don't ask. You say, "It's fine," when it's not fine. "I'm good," when you're drowning. "Don't worry about me," when that's all you want them to do. You minimize your problems so they seem manageable to others. You downplay your pain so it doesn't inconvenience anyone. You make your struggles small so people don't have to make space for them. And when someone does help you, you can't stop thanking them over and over because you can't believe they chose to spend their energy on you. You apologize while they're helping. Sorry this is taking so long. Sorry you have to do this. Sorry I needed you. As if needing is a crime you're confessing to. You reject offers of help 3 times before accepting, testing if they really mean it, waiting for them to rescind the offer so you don't feel guilty for taking it. And if they insist, you spend weeks trying to pay them back, not financially, emotionally, by being useful, by being easy, by needing nothing in return, by proving that helping you wasn't a mistake. You ghost people before they can realize you're too much. You pull away before they get tired of you. You leave first so you don't have to see them leave. Because you learned that everyone has a breaking point, and you're terrified yours will be the thing that breaks them. You've trained yourself to need so little that people call you low maintenance. But you're not low maintenance. You're high anxiety masquerading as easy. You're not independent. You're afraid. Afraid that if you ask for too much, you'll lose everything. So you settle for less than you need and call it enough. You live on the edges of people's lives because being central feels like taking up too much room. And you wonder why you're lonely while surrounded by people. It's because they know the performance, not the person. They love the version of you that needs nothing. But that version isn't real. And somewhere deep inside, you know that.
Here's what feeling like an imposition costs you. It costs you connection, real connection. Because when you refuse to need anything, people can't actually help you. And when people can't help you, they can't feel close to you. Intimacy isn't built on perfect self-sufficiency. It's built on mutual dependence, on letting someone see you struggle and choosing to stay. But you don't let anyone see you struggle. You perform ease. You fake fine. You present the no-maintenance version and wonder why relationships feel hollow. It's because they're loving a ghost. The real you, the one who needs, who hurts, who struggles, she's hidden. He's buried. They're locked away where it's safe. And safe feels like drowning quietly. It costs you authenticity because you can't be yourself while constantly measuring how much of yourself is too much. You edit your personality in real time. Laugh quieter, talk less, share carefully. Make sure you're easy. Make sure you're pleasant. Make sure you don't ask for more than you've been given permission to need. And what's left? A performance. A curated version designed to be least inconvenient. But that version isn't you. It costs you self-worth. Because when your value is measured by how little you need, you learn that needing is failure, that asking is weakness, that the less space you take up, the more you're worth. So you shrink, and shrink, and shrink, until you're not sure there's anything left that isn't apology. It costs you peace, because you're constantly calculating. Is this too much to ask? Have I used up my quota of needs this week? Am I becoming a burden? You can't relax into relationships. You can't trust that you're wanted. You're always one request away from being too much. And that's exhausting. Living like you're always on borrowed time. Like your presence is a favor that could be revoked. Like love is conditional and you're one mistake from failing the conditions. And here's the cruelest part. The people who actually love you, they don't see you as a burden. They want to help. They want to be needed. But you won't let them.
You're so afraid of being too much that you're nothing at all, and they're left wondering why you won't let them in, not knowing that you're protecting them from you, from the weight you're convinced you are.
But what if you're not an imposition? What if the story you've been telling yourself is wrong? What if needing people isn't taking from them, but letting them love you? Because here's what you've missed. People don't feel burdened by the people they love. They feel burdened by being unable to help them. When you refuse to need anything, you're not making their life easier. You're making connection impossible. You think you're being considerate, but what you're actually doing is pushing them away. Think about someone you love. Do you see their needs as burdens? Or do you see helping them as a privilege? When they ask you for something, do you resent it? Or do you feel closer to them because they trusted you enough to ask? That's how people feel about you. The ones who actually love you, they want to be needed. Not because they're saints, because needing each other is what makes relationships real. You've been so afraid of being too much that you've become too little. You've been so terrified of burdening people that you've denied them the chance to care. And the loneliness you feel, it's not because you're an imposition. It's because you won't let anyone impose back. Real relationships are messy. They're imbalanced sometimes. One person needs more this week, the other needs more next month. That's not dysfunction, that's interdependence. And you've been trying to be independent in a world built for connection. You think you're protecting people by needing nothing, but what you're actually protecting is yourself. From disappointment, from rejection, from the possibility that if you ask, they'll say no. So you never ask, and you call it consideration. But it's fear. Fear dressed up as self-sacrifice. And the saddest part, the people who would have said yes never got the chance. What if your needs aren't too much? What if they're exactly what someone else needs to feel needed? What if letting people help you is the gift? What if asking is trust, not theft? What if taking up space isn't intrusion, but presence? What if you're not an imposition at all? What if you're just human? And being human means needing people. And that's not a flaw. That's the whole point. So if you've spent your life feeling like an imposition, if you apologize for existing, if you measure every need before expressing it, if you've made yourself small to fit into spaces that should have made room for you, I need you to understand something. You're not an imposition. You never were. You were a child who learned that love was conditional, that help came with resentment, that needing made you expensive. And you did what you had to do. You became self-sufficient. You stopped asking. You made yourself easy. Not because you wanted to, because you had to survive. But you're not that child anymore. You're not living in that house, with those people, under those conditions. The ones who love you now, they're not keeping score. They're not waiting for you to be too much. They're waiting for you to let them in. You don't have to perform ease anymore. You don't have to pretend you need nothing. You don't have to apologize for taking up space. Space is yours by virtue of existing, not because you earned it, because you're here. And being here is enough. You're allowed to need things, not small things, not convenient things, real things. Help when you're struggling, support when you're scared, presence when you're alone. And asking for those things, that's not taking. That's trusting. That's letting someone love you the way you love them, by being there. You're allowed to be a little too much sometimes, to have a hard week, to need more than you give, to lean on someone without repaying them immediately. Because that's what relationships are. Not transactions, not scorecards, uneven, messy, beautiful interdependence. You're allowed to stop calculating,
to stop measuring, to stop apologizing for being human. Because humans need each other. That's not a design flaw. That's the entire design. The people who make you feel like an imposition, they're not your people. And learning that doesn't make you difficult. It makes you discerning. The people who see your needs and step back, let them. The people who see your needs and step forward, let them too. That's the difference. And you don't have to shrink for anyone. Not anymore. You've spent your whole life making yourself smaller, quieter, easier. What if you stopped? What if you took up space without apology? What if you needed things without shame? What if you let yourself be loved, messily, imperfectly, humanly? What if you existed without asking permission first? That's not being a burden. That's being free. And you deserve to be free. From the measuring, from the calculating, from the constant fear that you're too much. You're not too much. You're not an imposition. You're not a burden someone is carrying. You're a person, a whole, complicated, needing, deserving person. And you're allowed to exist, loudly, fully, without apology. The child who learned to disappear did what they had to do. But you don't have to disappear anymore. You can be seen. You can be needed. You can be loved, not despite your needs, because of your wholeness, which includes needing. And that's not an imposition. That's just being alive. Welcome back to the world, to presence, to asking, to receiving, to existing without apology. You've been gone long enough. It's time to take up space.